Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with The Haunted Carousel. Chapter 3, Night Watch. The deck of the houseboat lay almost on a level with the dock. As they reached out with the craft, George shot a quizzical glance at Nancy, who put a finger to her lips. The boat girls stepped aboard. With her lips close to George's ear, Nancy whispered that she would tiptoe around the bow of the boat while George went around the stern. That way, she added, we'll close in on him from two directions at once, and he won't deal with both of them. Nancy broke off at the start as a masculine voice suddenly shouted, "Boo!" George screamed and clutched to her friend. Nancy whirled around. Both girls shrieked, "Ned!" at the sight of a tall, husky young man in a western shirt and jeans who had just leaped out from behind the corner of the cabin. He was Nancy's boyfriend, Ned Nickerson. Seeing how startled the girls were, he put an arm around each of them reassuringly and apologized. "Sorry, I didn't really mean to scare the wits out of you." When he noticed the rock and tree branch they were clutching, Ned chuckled. "Guess I'm the only one who thought would have been scared. Might have been lights out if I got beamed with one of those." When he'd met the three little custard children, and he and Nancy had shown all over the houseboat, Ned said, "Actually, I just didn't come down here to play boogeyman, Nancy. I went to your house first, and Hannah said I might find you in the marina." Bess, who had happily rejoined her friends after seeing who the intruder was, cut in. "Well, now that you're here, you can stay and have dinner with us." Ned, who had brown eyes and wavy dark hair, replied with his usual ready smile. "It's good of you to invite me after I played such a trick, but I really came to ask Nancy if she could switch our date from tomorrow night to tonight." Turning to his friend, he added, "You see, I have to make a quick trip back to Emerson College to straighten out my program for the fall semester. There's been a computer mix-up on the courses I signed up for." "Oh, tonight will be fine, Ned," Nancy told him. "Well, you two are welcome to stay," George said with a mischievous grin. "But if I were you, Nancy, I wouldn't." Even Bess burst out laughing. "Neither would I if you want to choose, especially because I know what we'll be cooking tonight." "I made reservations at the Rustler's Inn," Ned said when the laughter died down. "But say no more," Nancy interrupted hastily. "Just lead the way." In his own car, Ned trailed Nancy's back to the Drew house so she could change. "Gee, you look great just as you are, Nancy," he protested as she started the stairs. "Everyone goes to the Rustler's Inn in jeans." "I know, but I like to get a little more Western looking," Nancy responded with a chuckle, "and I want to freshen up a bit too." A short time later, having changed into a blue and white checkered shirt, tied a red bandana around her neck, Nancy picked up her small shoulder and announced, "Ta-da, I'm ready." Ned looked at her approvingly and grinned. "Guess I should have worn my Western boots." At the inn, over thick, sizzling steaks, Nancy told Ned how reporter Rick Jason had challenged her to solve the mystery of the Haunted Carousel. "I read about that in the newspaper," Ned murmured, taking a forkful of crisp green salad. "There must be some perfectly natural explanation, and I intend to find it," Nancy declared. "But first I'd like to see with my own eyes." "Do you have any plan?" "Well, I thought I might keep watch on the park tonight." "Well, what if nothing happens?" Ned asked. "The carousel doesn't go around its spooky routine every night, does it?" "No, you're right," Nancy admitted. "Unless I'm lucky, I may have to stake out the park several nights in a row." "You wouldn't have to have joined me on the watch tonight by any chance?" "Wild horses couldn't keep me away. What's more, I want you to promise me something." "What's that?" Nancy's blue eyes twinkled. "Well, that you'll never go out there late night again unless I'm in River Heights so I can go with you," Ned said earnestly. "Okay. Well, perhaps you're right," Nancy said as they startled their apple pie and coffee. Ned didn't realize that she had actually promised nothing. Later, after deciding on the bedtime to arrive at Riverside Park, Ned and Nancy left the restaurant and drove to a movie theater that was showing a horror film they had chosen to see. It had gotten rave reviews as a spine-chilling thriller. 2 hours later, when the movie ended, they walked out of the theater laughing. It wasn't really very scary, do you think, Ned? Nope. Out of the 2 hours playing time, there was maybe 2 minutes of shock. The rest was silly. Laughing, they linked arms and sauntered to Ned's car. I'd like to stop home first and tell Dad where we're going, Nancy said. And maybe pick up a sweater, too. Shall I bring up the sweater for you to wear, Ned? Thanks, but I won the car, Nancy. It might be a good idea to take along some night glasses, though. We can pick them up at my house on our way to the park. You mean binoculars? Right. Mine are good for low light and night surveillance. They're used by the Navy and Coast Guard, Ned replied. Carson Drew was reading in his usual comfortable armchair in the living room when they arrived. Well, good to see you, Ned. Enjoying the movie, honey? He gave Nancy a hug. Mildly, Dad, Nancy said, smiling at Ned. And she and her father told about the latest mission she had undertaken to solve. So if it's okay with you, Ned and I are going to the park tonight to see if the carousel goes on when everything's dark. The distinguished attorney had long since learned to trust his daughter's good judgment and quick-witted ability to deal with emergencies. Very well, he nodded. If Ned's with you, I won't worry, but you'll be careful. Nancy changed into a pair of sturdy casual shoes, then grabbed a sweater and a flashlight and left the house with Ned. The two stopped at his house to pick up the special binoculars before driving on to the park. It was about 10 minutes to 11 when they reached their destination. I think we better park the car in the public parking lot near the marina and walk back, Ned remarked. What do you think, Nancy? Good idea. It'll be less conspicuous there after the park closes. Closing time for the amusement area of Riverside Park was 11 o'clock. Customers were drifting out as Nancy and Ned approached, and the rides were shutting down one by one. The amusement section was fenced off by the rest of the wooded park by a pipe and chain barrier. Nancy and Ned stayed outside the barrier and made their way along a dark-footed path to a clump of trees and shrubbery that afforded a clear view of the carousel. Let's wait in here, Nancy suggested. The carousel was situated near the front of the park that overlooked the riverbank. Its lights were still on as the teenage sleuth and her companion made themselves comfortable in the hiding place she had chosen. The proprietor was busy counting his receipts for the evening, while his young assistant swept the platform, picked up candy wrappers and other debris with a spike. Nancy lounged on the grass and Ned leaned against a tree trunk, watching the amusement park grow as the lights were turned off one by one. Meanwhile, the carousel's operating young assistant finished his chores, called goodnight to his boss, and left for the park. A few minutes later, Leo Novak turned off the merry-go-round lights, and the two watchers saw him trudge off toward his trailer, which was parked near a few other vans and campers in which lived other park concessionaires. Finally, all was dark. How long do you think we're going to wait, Nancy? Ned found himself speaking in a hushed tone. I think if nothing happens by, say 1:30, we may as well leave. From what I heard and read in news reports, the carousel has never started up later than that. They sat quietly and watched and waited. It was a lovely starlit night, with the crickets chirping, very peaceful. Nancy's eyelids grew heavier by the minute and began to close. Suddenly, Ned nudged her away. Do you see something move over there? He whispered, reaching for his binoculars. Nancy's eyes widened quickly. Yes, look, Ned. Even without the night glasses, she could make out two dark figures heading toward the carousel. They stepped out on the outer edge of the merry-go-round, and Nancy saw them dizzily silhouetted by a small glow of light, as if a flashlight had been turned on. After pausing a moment, they began moving from horse to horse. What the dickens are they up to? Ned grumbled. It's hard to see with their backs turned. He handed his binoculars to Nancy. As she focused on the two intruders, they stopped and now appeared to be centering their interest on one particular horse. An instant later, Nancy caught her breath as the lights of the carousel suddenly blazed on. Organ music turned loudly, and the merry-go-round began to revolve. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.